fall of last year, I thought I had finally figured out a routine that worked for me. I was waking up at 5 a.m. I was praying, reading my devotional, reading books that I've been wanting to get through. I was working out with weights, and I was even making breakfast before the kids got up. And I was unstoppable for about 2 weeks. And then one night, Christian got in the bed with me and his dad, and he had trouble sleeping. So the next morning, I ended up sleeping in, and I missed my 5 a.m. morning routine. And so one missed day turned into one missed week. I had just completely quit. I never ended up getting back in routine. Has this ever happened to you? Like the second you miss or fall off of your routine, you feel like you failed? Well, today I'm going to share with you the one shift that helped me break out of that cycle and helped me stop making routines that don't work and start making rhythms that got me more consistent. And I'll show you exactly how you can do that too. Well, y'all, welcome back to the Everyday Magic Podcast, where we talk about how to make the work of every day at home and online magic. Here, magic means meaningful, aesthetically pleasing, goal-oriented, intentional, and consistent. Now, we are going to talk about something that you probably have been trying to figure out, especially after the kids start going back to school. I feel like we're all really focused and thinking about getting back to routine for ourselves. And if you have ever felt like you have failed at routines, today's episode is for you. Because the truth is, you don't need another routine, you need rhythms. Now, one thing about it is that routines for me has been something that I have always really thought that I should be doing, right? It's something that I was taught in high school and that took with me in early adulthood. And this has happened to me more times than I like to admit. I'm just not a routines girl. I'm a results girl, but I used to think it was because of routines, right? Listen, I would write down the perfect routine after I would see something on Pinterest or social media or TikTok, and I would just go ahead and start with my routine, and I would be on it for a few days, okay? And then something would happen with the kids, or work would take longer than I think, or if we're being honest, I just was too tired. And the God to honest truth is I need way more spontaneity than just the same redundant routine, just the way God made me. I need flexibility, especially because I'm multifaceted. And so when it comes to you creating routines, that's what could be holding you back. What I realized is anytime I was consistent, it was because I found my rhythm. And this isn't because I'm lazy, and you're not lazy either. The truth is, routines are fixed. They leave no room for flexibility, especially when you are multifaceted. And when you're a mom, a wife, a creator, an entrepreneur, a human being, guess what? You need flexibility. So when you think about routines, it's kind of like routines or choreography, right? Which is kind of probably why they call it a dance routine. So you can only do the steps to a routine at a certain part of the song, while rhythms feel more like a dance party. Even playing the same song, you just have a lot more freedom to improvise. And that's what makes rhythms so incredible. So if routines aren't working, what does? And I'll tell you what changed for me in a minute. But I want to just talk about where you probably have been before, or maybe you're feeling this way right now. I was always in this vicious cycle of like, okay, I'm going to create this routine, okay? I'm going to write this down. I got it from Pinterest. I saw this girl on TikTok, or I read a book. And I would always put myself in this cycle of starting a routine and falling off after just a few days. And I would beat myself up. Or sometimes I would have the capacity to extend myself grace, right? And so then I would either change the routine a lot of it, or a little bit, or I would declare with bass in my voice that tomorrow is the day that everything is going to change, only really to simply rinse and repeat another version of the same cycle. And then one day, something changed. I started getting up early, I started working out more consistently, and actually getting way more sleep. And it wasn't because life was any less busy, the kids weren't magically easier, but things felt lighter. They felt simpler, and it was because I had stopped creating routines. and I found a rhythm. And this rhythm still required me to be prepared. It still required me to show up and do the work consistently. But instead of it being based on aimless frequency, it was more rooted in aligned flexibility. So remember, routine is fixed while rhythm is flexible, right? And routine really aims for a perfect result while rhythm gives you a predictable result. And that's really what you want. You want predictable productivity, not necessarily this performative perfectionism. When I was in the Miss Liberia USA pageant, we had like a long week of preparing for the pageant, and we practiced our opening number for hours for an entire week. You see, routine is great for performance, like gymnastics and dance and music, when you're being judged or entertaining people. But in your day-to-day, it's not about performance, it's about your priorities. So how is it that you actually create rhythms? Well, we're going to break it down into like 3 simple, practical steps you can start using today. And to make this simple for you, I have created a free resource called the Magic Rhythm Builder Worksheet. And basically, it's going to walk you through how you make your ideal, intentional, and incremental rhythms for time, energy, and focus. And you'll have it mapped out by the end of the day today. So to get the show notes for this episode and the free worksheet, head on over to mattiejames.com/025. That's mattiejames.com/025. If you're more than one thing, I can relate. I am a wife and a mom. I am a creator and an entrepreneur. I'm a believer and a self-starter. And I got to handle business at home and online. And the lie that they tell you when you're multifaceted is just you need to find more balance. And the truth is, you don't need more balance. You need more support. And you're not overwhelmed because you're doing the most. You're overwhelmed because you're doing it alone. And that's why I want to invite you to join And More, my private community for women who are more than one thing and want to stop doing life alone. What's great is in the community, we do morning lives Monday through Thursday, so you can start your mornings with more focus than distractions. We have resources in there to help you get organized and connection clubs so you can build friendships with like-hearted women in everything from your faith, business, and home. Now, if you're interested in not doing life alone anymore, I want to encourage you to join And More today by going to mattiejames.com/community and starting your 7-day trial today. That's mattiejames.com/community to join And More and start your 7-day trial today. Okay, let's get into it. So the first rhythm that you need to create is rhythms for time. I'll tell you the biggest issue with routines. Routines pretty much fail because we are actually planning what we would do with the time we wish we had versus the time we actually have, right? So here's what you've got to do. 1, you've got to be explicitly honest with yourself. This is one thing that rhythms will require you to do. And instead of having this like rigid schedule, I want you to come up with 3 different rhythms, okay? So I want you to come up with an ideal rhythm, an intentional rhythm, and an incremental rhythm. And again, this is going to require you to be explicitly honest with yourself about the time you actually have. So let's talk about your ideal rhythm. An ideal time rhythm is usually if you have anywhere from like 60 to 120 minutes, right? So this is when you can do some deep work. This is when you could do a 60-minute workout. And this is when you can get some uninterrupted work done. Then you have an intentional time rhythm. And this is more of like a 20 to 45-minute rhythm, right? So this is enough time for you to get something started and to create some momentum. And then you have your incremental rhythm. And this is if you only have about 5 to 15 minutes, which is long enough for you to outline and prep something and for you to finish later. So in my real life during the week, I can ideally get up maybe 1 to 2 times before my family at that 5 o'clock hour, okay? This allows me to get some prayer time in, my devotion in, and a 60-minute workout in. But typically on the day-to-day, I can intentionally get up 30 minutes before my family, which allows me to have time to pray and get a 25-minute workout in, and I'll usually do something on YouTube in the basement. But on my incremental days, I'll do some 10 squats, 10, push-ups and stretch, but this is my time rhythm. So I want you to take a magic pause and I want you to think about one priority right now. Maybe it is working out, maybe it's meal prep, or maybe it's writing content. And I want you to open up your notes app right now and set your timer for 2 minutes. Do it right now. And then I want you to jot down your ideal, intentional, and incremental versions. And when you do that, guess what, friend? You just created your first rhythm. So pause and do that right now. So next up, you want to create energy rhythms. And I think the trap that so many women fall into, because I have absolutely done this before, is that we'll listen to experts and leaders online who are men who are like, you just got to push through to get the work done. But they haven't bled for 3 to 5 days or dealt with PMS the week before, right? So instead of building routines that ignore your energy, I want you to build rhythms that honor it. So instead of routines that ignore your energy, I want you to build rhythms that honor it, okay? So you can do anything from cycle syncing rhythms or the energy rhythm outline that I'm about to give you. So the first energy rhythm is your high energy rhythm, right? So this is definitely when you can do some deep work, heavy workouts, batch cooking, or even batch content creation. And this is typically going to happen during your follicular or even your ovulation weeks in your cycle. Then you have your medium energy rhythms. And this is when you can do some admin tasks, you can do some writing, run some errands. And this is usually going to be during your follicular or your luteal weeks during your cycle. And then, of course, you need to create a low energy rhythm. This is when you need to rest, you need to read, do some editing, stretching, and just very light tasks. And this will very likely be during your luteal and menstruation weeks. So for me, in my real life, during luteal week, I'm not about to feel bad or beat myself up for not doing some high energy 60-minute strength training workout. I'm going to trade that in for a 15 to 30-minute walk, and that's my energy rhythm in real life. So I want you to take another magic pause real quick. I want you to take 60 to 90 seconds. Go ahead and open your notes app again. And I want you to write down 3 things you can do when you're high energy, then 3 for medium, and then 3 for low. And once you finish that, congratulations, you just finished your energy rhythm. Last but not least, you want to create rhythms for your focus. I think the problem can often be that routines can trick you into thinking they're going to make decisions for you. But rhythms follow focus, and focus is what gives your rhythm shape, all right? So let's take an example. Like maybe your focus right now as a creator is to get consistent on YouTube and grow your YouTube following. And so your rhythm then is going to prioritize creating and filming and editing. So some days that's going to be 3 hours, and other days that's going to be 20 minutes. But either way, it flows around your focus. And what's great is you build your focus rhythm to be compatible with your time and energy rhythms. But remember, it is so important for you to make sure that you're prioritizing your focus over your feelings. Now, that doesn't mean that you ignore your feelings. You can absolutely acknowledge your feelings and say like, okay, I don't feel like doing this. But if you know next week you're not going to have the time or energy to do it, then you have to honor your focus over your feelings, okay? Now, there's another rhythm that I didn't even think of until just now that keeps me consistent in the midst of the chaos, and I'll share that with you at the very end. But here's what I want you to remember. Routines often don't work for you because they're fixed. And because you're a human being, you need flexibility, especially when you're multifaceted. Rhythms succeed because they flow. And then there are 3 rhythms you want to aim to build. You want to build rhythms for your time, you want to build rhythms for your energy, and you want to build rhythms for your focus. And then last but not least, I want you to remember that your days are not about performance. They're about your priorities. And that's why rhythms matter more than routines. So the very last rhythm that just came across my mind were environment rhythms. And I actually talk about this in the book in another way, but the environment rhythms that I have day to day are like these small rituals that I do in between my day that allow me to switch environments to signal what the moment is. So for instance, like music in our kitchen usually signals that it's family time. And low light in my kids' bedrooms, like they all have like lamps in their rooms and it has lower light, that signals wind down time. And then whenever the kids are down for bed and I light a candle in my bathroom, that signals bath time. And what I love about those environment environmental or even environment rhythms is that they really do create flow and peace in the everyday busyness. Now, remember, do not forget about the free Magic Rhythm Builder worksheet. It's going to walk you through how to create your ideal intentional and incremental rhythms for time and focus, and your high, medium, and low rhythms for your energy. You can have your rhythms mapped out by the end of today. You can get that along with the show notes for this episode at mattiejames.com/025. That's mattiejames.com/025. And if you're listening and thinking, I need more of this, I need people who actually get what it's like to build rhythms as a mom, a believer, a creator, or entrepreneur, then that's exactly why I created And More, which is my private community where we build consistency with support and resources instead of guilt. Now you can start your 7-day trial at mattiejames.com/community and join And More today. I would love to personally welcome you inside. Now, here's what I want you to know, friend. Routines made me feel like a failure. And the magic of rhythms is that they remind you that you're human. And when you honor your humanity, consistency becomes possible and purposeful. So trade in routines for rhythms today and make sure you download that Magic Rhythm Builder worksheet. Try it out and just see how much lighter your days feel. And share with me at the Mattie James on Instagram. And if this encouraged you, do me a huge favor, send it to at least one person on social media or via text who needs to let go of routines and get into more rhythm. That, my friend, is everything for now. Remember that the work of every day matters. You might as well make it magic. Love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'll see you next time here on the Everyday Magic Podcast.